Harry, Pittsburgh Phil, Strauss. July 28, 1909 to June 12, 1941, was an American contract killer for Murder, Inc. in the 1930s. He reportedly killed over 100 men, some historians put the number as high as 500, using a variety of methods, including shooting, stabbing with ice picks, drowning, live burial, and strangulation. Strauss never carried a weapon in case the local police picked him up on suspicion. He would scout his murder spot for any tool that would do the job. Harry Strauss, aka Pittsburgh Phil, was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. His entrance into organized crime isn't highly written about, but this group recruited men who had a reputation for being the most brutal and violent in Brooklyn. He was born in July 1909 to a Jewish family in the Russian Empire. His parents were Jacob and Yetta Ostrovsky. The family immigrated to the U.S. in 1914 and changed their surname to Strauss. Like many other Jewish immigrants, the Strauss family settled on the Lower East Side, Manhattan, New York City. Harry had one sister, Fanny, and three brothers, Hyman, Alex, and Sam. His father, Jacob Strauss, worked for the city's Department of Street Cleaning. The family later moved to the Bronx. In 1917 or 1918, his father was killed in an industrial accident. His widowed mother later remarried. He dropped out of school at age 15. In his youth, Strauss started committing crimes and became deeper involved in the streets as the years passed. Most of his associates called him Pep. In the 1930s, he was committing assaults, larcenies, and drug dealing. With the nickname of Pittsburgh Phil, you would think Harry Strauss had some sort of ties to Pittsburgh. But it turns out, his ties to Pittsburgh are in name only. In the book Murder, Inc., the story of the syndicate Turkus states he was called that because he was the dandy of the outfit. Phil was known to be an impeccable dresser and had a love for murder. In fact, he would try to take hits himself instead of assigning them to the other contract killers. He once said to a fellow mobster, "Like a ballplayer, that's me. I figure I get seasoning doing these jobs here. Somebody from one of the big mobs spots me. Then, up to the big leagues." It's rumored that he killed somewhere between 100 to 500 people in his time with Murder, Inc. It wasn't only that Pittsburgh Phil was a prolific murderer, but it was his ability to evade prosecution for his crimes, though he was really good at getting arrested, and his methods of murder that captivated the 1930s public. No place was safe from his bloodlust. Phil was known to take contracts in several cities, including Boston, Philadelphia, and Miami. After news of his modus operandi spread, law enforcement departments across the country started to tie unsolved cases to Pittsburgh Phil. Detroit and Somers, Connecticut were able to close particularly grisly cases that had long gone unsolved. Skills of the trade. Phil didn't always carry a weapon with him. He was worried that if carried a weapon and got arrested, he'd end up serving time. Instead, he would stake out the area where he was planning to carry out the hit and look for items he could use as weapons. One of his favorite ways to kill was by use of an ice pick. He would also use rope, a knife, or a gun. It wasn't just strangers he'd sign on to eliminate. News got to him that one of his former roommates, Walter Sage, had been stealing money from the slot machines he managed. Phil and a few of the other Murder, Inc. boys developed a plan to take him out. During a drive one night, an ice pick from behind took care of Sage. They drove his body to the shore of a lake, and Pittsburgh Phil decided to tie the corpse to a pinball machine, symbolism of what had caused Sage to deceive his
cohorts. He was arrested 18 times but was never convicted until he was found guilty of the homicide that sent him and fellow Murder, Inc. hitman Martin Bugsy Goldstein to the electric chair. after hitman Abe Kid Twist Rellis turned informant. Strauss was arrested for the murder of Irving, Puggy, Feinstein, and at least 5 other known murders. Strauss tried to avoid conviction by feigning insanity in the courtroom and on death row. Strauss and Goldstein were convicted September 19, 1940, and executed by electrocution using Sing Sing's Old Sparky on June 12, 1941.